11 Executive Directors meeting. I welcome everybody and I call the meeting to order. Approval of the agenda.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda that I have shared with the board and it was posted online.
Can I have a second, please? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Public forum. I think we have Mr. Captain.
Yes, sir.
The floor. Take the floor. We have 30 minutes, please.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you guys for approving my request to speak tonight. I just wanted to follow up on a few items from the April Town Hall meeting that you all held. While I didn't get a chance to attend in person, I did watch it online. I was on the road that week. And I wanted to ask the board, of course, you don't have to respond to me here, but ask the board some questions about the promises that the board made at that town hall to the parents and the community about how the school would handle the 40 additional students in kindergarten and first grade this year. The first area was around lunch. Many questions were asked if the lunch room area was large enough, which of course it is, but if the expansion would impact the lunch periods. My son was in kindergarten last year. He started lunch at about 10:25, and I believe that was the earliest lunch period. This year, the kindergartners eat lunch at 9:55. This next statement is not meant to be flippant, but McDonald's and Chick-fil-A don't start serving lunch until 10:30 a.m. So
But they serve it all day.
they do serve it all day. That they do. Wendy's is even coming back with it too. So that was not as advertised. There were also promises made about the expansion of the playground. And as we all know, we can look outside. There's no improvements to the playground at present. And certainly given the budget conversation that the board had at last month's board meeting, certainly doesn't seem like there's any room in this year's operating budget to improve the playground beyond what it is, either from a capacity perspective or from what's actually out there. The third area that I'd ask the board to consider is instructional impacts. In particular, my son's in first grade, and for his special area classes, his class is not attending special area classes as a class. His class is actually split up. 5 students go with another class, 5 students go with another. So yes, they're getting the special area instruction, which I appreciate, but also you're adding a burden to our special area teachers in a way that, frankly, wasn't advertised, and that no parent understood until actually their child got to school on the first day. Similarly, I don't know if this was a matter of the expansion or not, but in third grade, where my daughter is, third grade doesn't have recess until 2:35 p.m. Then they come back at 3:05 and then have a homeroom meeting for the last 20 minutes of the day. Considering dismissal in the first couple of weeks has been 3:15, 3:20, their day pretty much is over at 2:35, which can't possibly be great for their brain breaks in the learning that they're supposed to have. So I worry that next year when another 20 students are added, how's that going to impact the special area teacher? How's that going to impact the lunch? How's that going to impact the playground? Especially when, again, the budget this year is tight. We heard that at the last board meeting. I imagine that'll be a point of discussion this evening. The foundation just bought the church property, so their reserves are also fairly diminished. The board's going to hopefully approve tonight of change to the air conditioning compressor in the elementary school building, a project that Vetras Pappas tells the school needs to be fully replaced at a cost of several $100,000. So I don't know where the money's going to come from to deliver on the promises that the board had in that April town hall. So I wanted to bring those to the board's attention. Wanted to know that some parents are still out there listening, watching, and hoping that the board will deliver on the promises it made prior to the vote on the expansion that occurred. So thank you for the time, and I appreciate the support.
Thank you, Mr. Captain. Any board member would like to say anything? No? Okay. Thank you. We go to the next item, approval, we had another.
Would you
we had
mind
another-
if we brought up the subject that was brought to the board as a public forum, but then we were able to answer it at the school level, so it wasn't necessary to have the person visit the meeting tonight, but just so we can share with all of the parents what the solution was? It was brought to our attention that there's a water fountain at the now end of the second grade hallway, which last year was a third grade hallway, that was warm. And once Jim learned of this at the beginning of this school year, there were a couple questions asked. First of all, is it unhealthy for the kids to be drinking from warm water? No. Jim looked into it. The temperature of the water doesn't determine whether or not it's purified or not. What comes through that fountain is the same. So there's no health risk involved. So it did not need an out of order sign. And there is another water fountain in the hallway for the students to use. But he did call to get that looked at when it was brought to his attention, and he's bringing a quote to the board tonight, and he has additional quotes coming. But I just wanted to make sure that, because that was an operational cost within the school, we addressed it. And anytime there is another issue, you know, again, we just want all parents to know that they can come to me, come to Vanessa or with, and we'll bring it to Jim Tatzis, our facilities manager, if there's attention, so we can address it.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is approval of previous meeting minutes. Dr. Stigano.
All right, I had circulated the August minutes to all of the board members, and I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
That's
Do we need to go for each one
yeah, well,
separately?
the other ones will do separately.
Okay,
Just
this
for
is
August.
Okay, I'll second that.
She said,
Well, yeah, I said somebody else said.
okay. Any discussion, any corrections or additions, or all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
All right, there was a question brought to the board by a parent about transparency of what goes on in closed meetings, and discussions took place, that's something that is required in the open meetings law. There's some flexibility for the board on what to exactly have to publish what went on in the closed meeting, because obviously because it's closed, there's some sensitive information involved, but the public has a right to know what was deliberated on and what the decisions were. There's a couple of small exceptions to that. So the resolution was to go back and revise the minutes from April through July. As you will see in the August minutes, that's already taken care of. Actually, the July ones were as well. But so I had circulated to the board. Can you show? Yeah. This was a folder that I circulated to the board, and you see the minutes there, April, May, June, July, and August. And all of those will be posted, will be the revisions of the minutes that we had already approved. I don't know if you all had the time to have a look at them. What I can tell you is what I did. I went to the closed session minutes, because we do keep those, and I basically took out if there was salary information or things like that. I took those things out and I put them down below. So if you can bring up any one of those, or April.
Everybody has them. I do have them.
Yeah, and they will be posted. So if you go down, you see that?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just go up just a little bit more. Okay, so that was the closed session, and every time, and we've been doing this for quite some time, years, when we come out of closed session, we always vote on to confirm and approve in open session whatever went on in closed session. So that motion was already there. So what I added is where it says the bullet points under the where it says approval of hirings, non-renewal, approval of transfer, those things is what I added, and they come directly from the closed session. So this is an example. We can go through each one if you like. If you haven't looked at them, and I'd like to make a motion, if it's all right with you, unless you have question on any individual one, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the revised April through July minutes that reflect the closed session decisions.
Can I have a second, please?
And again, if anybody would like to make a,
We have a discussion.
would like to have a separate motion for each one, we can do that as well. But if you're all
I think the best way is to make a separate motion.
one,
So we don't have any objection. I don't know, if we don't have any objection.
I mean, if someone wants to do that, we can do it. Do you? Is
No,
that?
no, I'm not
Okay.
opposing it.
All right. Well, I made my motion, so.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the matter?
And again, all of this will be posted
Yes,
tomorrow, hopefully.
that's right.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
So, for common courtesy for educators, many times when they are explained why the school has chosen to non-renew a license, not non-renew a license, to non-renew a contract or not offer a contract for the upcoming year, sometimes a person will say, well, I choose to resign.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask about that because if in our closed session it was discussed and agreed upon, but then the following day a teacher was to submit a resignation letter, how is that reflected in a closed session minute? And that's just something we can talk about another time maybe, but I just wanted to bring that up. Because we might discuss in closed session that it's agreed upon, but then if a teacher resigns for
think that-
personal reasons, I think that
Yeah, I understand. At the
We need to
time,
make sure
I mean,
that
the board minutes reflect what was decided by the board at the time of the meeting. If the person says, okay, please let me resign, instead of that, that would have to come back to the board, the next board meeting, and vote it again. And, we could do that, and I would not be opposed to that, but we cannot just make the change because there could be a board member that says, no, I really think we should have fired that teacher, and, that's what I think is the proper way of doing it.
Any other?
because we do bring the resignations to the board and you guys accept resignations.
Of
Yeah,
course,
that's right.
yeah, and those are reflected in the minutes if there's a resignation.
But the scenario you just described, we've never had that brought back to us.
So, as an administrator, if you see that situation likely taking place, what I would do if I were in your place, I would approach the teacher and say, listen, you and I have had conversations before, we know things are not going very well, this is gonna come in front of the board. If you would like to resign, this is your chance, and do that before the meeting.
All right, thank you.
So you need to call for a
So,
vote.
all in favor,
Any
say
other
aye.
discussion?
Yeah, I have a second discussion, we have discussion for that. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you all. The next item on the agenda is consent items.
Okay, so, Sandra, could you show the zip folder again? Please?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the mouse is on a delay, so it's not that I'm moving slowly.
So, I have shared with you in the zip folder all the different reports. the principal's report, the curriculum committee report, technology report, athletics, after school program facilities, and PFI report. And all of these reports will be posted on the school website hopefully tomorrow, as soon as they're approved tonight. So hopefully, so everybody will be able to see them. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve all the consent items. And just as a side note, we do have time to discuss them. And I'll say one more thing, even though I don't have a second yet. If anyone would like to take any of the consent items out and ask for separate approval, you have the right to do that. My motion is to approve all the consent items.
Okay, now, I know one of the
Discussion.
athletics report does have some items for approval on there.
Yes, those are later.
It's further
Okay.
down, agenda.
No,
Are
it's
they
not.
later?
No.
Okay, so that's an item, if you would like to take the athletics report out, we can take the athletics report down. That's considered a friendly amendment. Are you okay with it, Karen? Since you seconded the motion, okay. So the motion is to approve all the consent items, except the athletics report.
There was
to
also
be
an
handled
approval on the technology report
What was it?
to get the two additional copiers.
Just came in.
No, it was,
You have
It was on the report.
yeah, it was on the technology report that Steve Joyner had sent.
Okay, I missed that. I missed that, but we can, if everybody's okay, we can add an item on the agenda for that particular item.
So we have two.
No, we'll just handle that particular item as a vote because there's some other votes as well. So you can call for a vote on the consent items.
Okay.
later.
Can I have, all in favor say aye, please?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank
So,
you.
so the athletics,
Okay, athletics.
so, I mean, the report
It's, I
is
have it
there.
here, you want to?
Yeah.
Before we go to that, I think Sandy wanted to recognize someone, so I thought maybe we should do that.
Yes, so in the principal's report, we were talking about personnel, and one of the pieces of North Carolina is that they always have a teacher of the year. And Socrates Academy, this is not a teacher that I personally voted, but the staff as a whole voted for a teacher of the year who will represent our school moving forward at the state. And our teacher of the year last year was voted Allison Van Alphen. I want to talk a little bit about Allison Van Alphen because Mr. Prulis and I have the privilege of being able to write a letter to recommend her to the state for being the North Carolina Teacher of the Year. But just speaking, we talk about data a lot, and Allison is the epitome of a data queen, and she, in 17-18 school year, had 80% of her students proficient, and to her, that wasn't good to her. And she said, how can I fix this? I want it to be better than 80% of my students. I'm shooting for 95 higher. Like, I want everybody to be proficient. And proficient would mean that on the EOG they scored a 3, 4, or 5. So she took the data, she took every single one of her 80 students' individual student reports, and she went through every single subject area, every minor objective that the EOG covers, and she looked at how she taught, she looked at how well she thought the kids should do, and how they did or did not perform as to her thinking that they should, and she revamped the way she taught, which she does every year anyway. She's always looking for what's the newest and greatest, what's the evidence-based, and last school year, she grew to 95% proficiency, and those are the students who had 3, 4s, and 5s, and her college and career readiness, which means they got 4s or 5s, which is truly the goal of every school, is that you want your scholars to be college and career ready. She was at a 93% college and career ready. So talk about tremendous growth. I mean, she really does serve as a leader in our school, but she's also was nominated and selected to be on the Beyond Benign Leaders of Science Leaders in the Nation. And so she is a leader of science teachers. So we are honored to have you here at our school, and the reason that you are selected as Teacher of the Year, I mean, it goes without saying. So
Thank you.
we wanted to publicly recognize you here tonight. So.
Thank you.
We applaud your great job and contribution to you in becoming a Blue River School.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I will try to represent as well. Thank you.
Hopefully it's contagious and everywhere.
Okay.
Thank you for remembering.
Thank you. The other item.
Athletics.
Athletics, yes. Okay. Athletics.
He's here somewhere.
Let's just do the technology one.
Okay. So Steve Joyner and Associates had sent their report last week about last school year. They had proposed that we replace all of our copiers, all 8 of them, replace all 8 with new ones. They were outdated. We had jams every day. The board agreed that instead of replacing all 8, to replace half 4. Let's see how it works. Well, it's been amazingly efficient. We've eliminated all printers in the hallways, and we are still under budget when it comes to the technology and the projection of technology with the copier budget. And he still thinks that we could come even lower if we are eliminating the other old machines, which is there are actually 3 in Georgia's office alone. One's a black and white printer, one's a color printer, and one's a copier that is there that was working as a fax machine. So her 3 would become 1, efficient and new. And then there's 2 up here in the middle school office, a color and a black and white. They would be merged into 1. And the gym building, since we made the expansion, now is more than just a couple of teachers down there. It's a whole grade level down there. And so the third would be to have an actual copy machine and not just a printer in the gym. It's still below the initial 8. It would make us having a proposal of 7. Again, we already have the 4. But the 3 more, it still puts us under budget. But the initial cost does require us to pay a $1,400 setup fee. But then we would have all brand new functioning machines, just like the ones that currently exist. We're still under where we were in the past. There's one in every teacher's lounge. Not teacher's lounge, we don't lounge around here, but the teacher workrooms. And then the offices would have them. We've eliminated all old machines. And we'll still be under budget according to Steve's report that he sent you guys. So we were asking for the approval of a color copier in the office in the middle school, a color copier in Georgia's office. We would eliminate the current things in the offices and 1 in the gym building.
Have you?
And I'll go ahead and make a motion to that effect to approve those printers. And just to let everybody know, those are in the budget. We have those in the line item for approval.
What's the total cost? It's, yeah.
What she said, the approval for 3 printers.
Okay.
An initial would be $1,400. And everything else is in the budget.
1,400 is set up, you said.
Correct, it's a setup cost. He said.
Is there a cost for purchasing as well?
It should fall within our normal operating budget. I know that Lenna's talked to you individually about it.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull up the exact number for you.
Wait a minute.
For $1,454.64.
That's not the setup fee.
That's the, he called it a one-time expense. Because we have to add our paper cut to the existing machines. The paper cut is how we monitor how many copies everybody gets. That's what he said.
I'll set them.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Is the line open if somebody,
The Zoom is on,
if somebody,
but I believe that the person who's zooming in said they'd be late.
okay.
All right, so
What?
athletics.
Athletics.
Sorry about that. So we've got 3 quick items for the board to listen to and maybe vote to approve here. We look to spend up to $2,000 to renovate the back soccer field, and we put that number there. I don't think that we're going to spend that much. We're talking seating. We're talking so nothing as far as constructing anything. Just like I said, grow some more grass on the field we have. To use that for field day, use that for PP outside, for possibly soccer here. So we're looking to use the Owl Club money to spend for that. So that's our first item there.
Just to elaborate a little bit on Miles's, what the Owl Club is coming to us. The Owl Club raised, about $3,000 last year. We're looking to, increase that this year and increase the participation in the Owl Club. We do have a partnership that was brought to the board last year. We discussed with Mara, and in exchange for some of our kids participating in Mara and Mara using some of our facilities, they will come and do some of the manual labor as far as improving the field and cut down on the cost. Basically, this $2,000 is for fertilizer and seed and that kind of stuff. It's not for labor. Mara's going to be providing that.
So you have a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the $2,000 expenditure.
Second.
What about, discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, all right. So we're working to, as you know, we're working to get that other land from the church next door, and as part of every version of the master plan that I have seen shows that we're going to have some sort of an athletic facility, but it's not going to be exactly where the soccer field is right now. How do you feel about postponing this in anticipation of having something better and putting the money towards that improved athletic facility?
We had a lengthy discussion in our meeting because Mr. Perulis came and brought that. We are aware of the purchase of the land and all that. That's not going to happen tomorrow, nor is it going to happen in 6 months. We're not going to be able to build something or build an athletic facility in 6 months or whatever. We'd like to get some use out of that field soon. And we feel like a $2,000 expenditure is not any outrageous amount to use something fairly quickly. We're not going to build Yankee Stadium out here.
I understand. Can I ask you another question? Originally, when we built that field there, and I measured it with others, and I went to different places with the state and the United States Soccer Federation and so on, and that field has enough measurement to be a proper middle school soccer field. Then at some point that little track that goes around was built, which cut down the field, and it made it possibly, I did not measure it afterwards, but possibly not big enough. If we're going to make a change, and since we have a soccer team, do you think that it would be a good idea to use the whole space there to build the field so that the middle school can be competing on that field?
The field to have a soccer game, to have the grass that we need, would have to have underground piping, irrigation. Growing grass on that field would not be a playable field. Our comments would allow it. As far as taking the track out, you're taking out the track for our track team, our recess, so they have nowhere to walk.
Okay.
Again, we don't want a lot of traffic on that field if we're going to use that field for play. So the vision of having a soccer stadium, a soccer field, that would be only soccer field. Nothing else is going on that field except soccer. So as far as using what we have now, yes, it's not regulation size, but practice-wise, if it's great, and we don't use it now. So.
What I would like, you all know, I may also remind you that for 1.5, 2 years, we tried to buy the additional land in order to come up, to have enough room, enough space to have a track and field here. It takes us 1.5 years, okay? Lately, we are almost finished. We have submitted everything to the church here. We just delayed. Any day, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, whatever, the church will make a decision. This is something is going on. I don't know why it took so long, but we already have a contract submitted to the church. So once the contract, I just want to, once the contract is done, we decided last time here on the board of directors, we're going to call right away the task force committee with engineers, with architects and this, to really finalize, to come up with a comprehensive master plan and start the work, clearing the area there, labeling the land there, upgrading the playground, okay, and indicate what other buildings will be built and have the track and field. That's why we delayed so much, and we delayed it to have, we could do everything, we could do except the track and field without the additional land, but we do want that additional land. And I hope that during the next week or whatever, we've been waiting for that, okay? The money for the clearing and things like that are coming in, okay? So the thing is, spending $2,000 and maybe I don't mind really. And I can fundraising also to raise this money if you don't have it. The thing is that we will spend the money, $2,000. I can go with it, but maybe in 2 or 3 or 4 months, maybe, okay, the bulldozers will come here and start working, of course. So they level the land, and maybe this will cover it. I'm not sure what the comprehensive plan will be, what the engineers and architects will suggest. So, and another thing that I would like to mention here is we have to try to be very careful with Mara not to make any contract to use it here with the field and track later on, because we want to bring in they're going to bring in a lot of other teams from outside, and we're going to have a traffic problem here, and we may have, complaints from the neighborhood. So I just wanted this field and track to be for our school, and do everything we can, of course, to cooperate with Mara. I'll go for it. Okay, this is an update of where we stand right now. Okay, there is not a money problem. It's just that we haven't gone through the contract, wetland. They didn't allow us to do the wetland. We did our analysis. We have everything. We have the engineers ready to go and do everything. Okay, that's all I want to say. So can I have a motion to approve the 2000?
It's already motion.
Okay, and second also, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, let's go to the next
I
slide.
had 2 more. These are not expenditures. We're looking to the board to say yes on looking for options to buy a school van, sports van. We're not going to buy anything yet. We want to look and see what our options are as far as financing one. We have looked into renting one. For a yearly cost, it's expensive. But like I said, that's one of the things that our parents asked for, was for grass on our field and an activity bus. So.
Sorry, I think that's me.
Was that not something that we discussed about starting fundraising with the outcome?
Right.
I think we've already approved that.
Right, he's just bringing it to the board for informational purposes, to let you know that we are exploring
All right.
ways of looking at getting a
Okay.
You don't
van
need
or a
any
bus.
approval.
No,
No.
So if you don't need approval for
There's one
anything
more,
else?
there's one more item that we need approval for.
Last one.
Oh, okay.
We have we have a sports sponsorship advertising app that has reached out to us. We use a similar app now. This app is able for our parents to communicate and talk, and within this app, sponsorships and advertisements are sold. There is no initial cost for our free trial, but for a second year there is a cost. The cost for the app now is around $4,200 per year. They're willing to waive that fee this year and raise all of it for us. So it's our way of committing to them. We sat down as a committee, talked about it. It's something that we think can really boost our sponsorships and get our name out there. So like I said, we want to try to have this looked at. We have a contract ready to be looked at and signed. So.
So I'm sorry, we haven't seen the contract, but what, and so I guess if we haven't seen the contract, we can't vote on it, but what is the benefit of participating in this? What does the school get?
So the school gets help with sponsorship and advertisement. So what this company does and what this app does, it helps us reach out and it brings in donors to help our athletics. Like I said, this is through social media. Metro Atlanta uses it now. This was their first school that they used. Like I said, we had both the owner and the rep come over, sit down with us, and cater this to only Socrates. And like I said, they have a whole plan for us here.
So
It
is
would
it
be
something?
it would be a website for our athletic program that will have the schedules for each team, the location of the games, how to get to the games, all of that. And then there will be advertisements on there that this company will go out and get the ads. And that way, we feel like it would be a good way to, a good fundraiser for the Owl Club.
So is this like Max Preps?
Yes.
Because
it's
is that
similar.
Is that free, the Max Preps?
Max Preps is schools do use that app, but it's not a in-school app. It's a public app. This here is a only Socrates app catered to us, so it's our school only. So it's school by school, similar to Max Preps. So it's not just schedules, not just roster. It's more of a like I said, it's more of a social media sponsorship advertisement, and then catering to your sports program itself.
And what is the track record of this company? What have they done in other schools?
So they have right now they have Metro Atlanta for the third year. They were able to bring in $8,000 in 1 year for Metro Atlanta in their very first year. So
And
they just went up to
and pay 4,000.
No, the first year, it would not cost us anything.
Okay.
And whatever they raise would go to the school. The second year is when the $4,000 would kick in.
If we
But
want-
they go out and do the fundraising, and they tell us that they're going to raise more than what
the
the
initial
cost
cost of the app.
The second year, if we want to renew, we can pay it.
Right.
So is the contract tying us down for both years, or is it 1
Year by year.
year by year? So the first year is free. If at the end of the first year they don't do anything for us, we can cancel.
Right,
exactly.
Oh, that's
Okay.
free
One of
thing,
the,
it's fine.
right, one of my parents it works for that company, and she's the one that brought it to our attention.
Okay. So they can we attract? Can we attract ads from outside?
That's what she's going to be doing.
That's what's coming in?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, how do they go about fundraising for, through ads? I guess I'm not clear on.
So if they were to have a sports event, and we have a picture of our volleyball team, it would have a sponsorship from, let's say, Showmars. It would be presented by Showmars, and Showmars would have a deal and a. So we're putting our picture and our school out there, and it has Showmars at the bottom. So we're advertising the companies through our school through the app.
And can only our parents subscribe to
So
it?
it's
or
a very you can
It's a public
tweet, yeah.
domain, anybody can.
Anybody can look at it.
Anybody can
Yeah.
look at it, but no, we have to. Like I said, it's just like any social media. You can turn off who can do this and that with it.
Do we have any say with what if there's an organization that's not aligned with Socrates that's
So
sponsored? How
that's
does that
what
work?
the company does with us. Is they present the sponsor to us, and then like I said, we say yes no. So they don't go out and just say we have this sponsor. We have to agree with the sponsor.
The
And will we-
the Socrates parent who works for that company
Mhm.
is one who is responsible for going out and getting the ads.
Are we responsible for any stewardship of those? I mean, they handle all the thank yous on the back end and those things, and also would we have the opportunity to, maybe there's a larger ask and there's a greater opportunity, will we have that opportunity outside of this to approach a company, organization?
Like I said, this is a year-by-year contract. I think that's their binding thing is you don't have to stick with us year by year. So we were sold on we were
In the
sold.
contract, is it like an exclusivity
Yes.
where, like you said, if Showmars pays us through this app, but we now want Showmars to sponsor some event in the spring,
Absolutely.
we don't want this app company to be able to say, well, that counts for our sponsorship if Karen went out and did that on her own. So we just need to, I guess, read
Yeah, the contract we have is very lengthy. It's like I said, I just want to go ahead and bring it up. And as far as reading the details and fine print, that's something we can do.
So it sounds like, I mean, for me, if it's free, I'm good with it, but I'd like to see a contract first.
Yeah.
So can you share the contract with us and I'll just put it on to board next time?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I think we finished with the facilities on the utilities. We go to finance budget.
Okay.
Mr. Rousseau.
Apologize for the late email with the finance report. We just got information from Acadia on Monday. So I sent it out to everyone yesterday. But the current budget, and that should be as of August, not May 31st, August, I'll make that change. We are currently, and this is only for the first 2 months, the first 2 months of this year. Are we doing?
Tony's proficient in keyboard skills and I am not.
Sorry.
Sorry.
All right. Where is it? Treasury.
The mouse is running delayed, so it works easier with the keyboard.
Is this us?
That is our screen that Zoe was calling in on.
All right, so we are having a surplus for the first 2 months of $14,650. We've also got cash on hand in BB&T, and really that should be broken out, but we haven't gotten our first monthly report from BB&T yet. But per the board's direction, we put I think $500,000 into a CD and $150,000 into an interest-bearing money market, and so which we can get to if we need any of that money at any point during the year. But that way, the money's just not sitting around doing nothing. But again, as we were reminded earlier, this is going to be a tight budget year, but hopefully we can manage it and stay in the positive throughout the year. Okay. But again, 2 months into the year, we haven't gotten. You heard today the state is. They were still at a budget impasse. There was a little maneuvering today where the House approved the budget, You know, some form of a budget may be coming soon, which means they'll release additional money. But we have not gotten any funds from the local government. We have gotten a little bit from the state so far. But again, we're doing pretty well for 2 months into the budget.
The budget will also be approved, I believe. Greek teachers coming from Greece, paid by the Greek government. And also Gina and I talked to the Myers and Chapman here.
That's in the facilities report. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
All right, okay. What I'm saying, group. Okay, you want to make the motion? To approve?
It's a report. Do we need to approve that? Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make a motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you, son. The next item on the agenda, I'm not sure, Curriculum Committee proposal. Check, is Zoe on? You know, anybody? Hello?
Skip to the,
Okay, we go to facilities, number 8. I leave this as soon as Zoe comes back. Curriculum Committee. Now, facilities committee, replacement of AC unit, Mr. Tatsis.
We need to replace the compressor in the unit that, down in the gym building, the unit that is for the teacher workroom and the bathrooms. That unit has been not functioning. It didn't function last year either. But because Miles's office was in that room, he didn't mind if the air conditioning didn't work. So we never fixed it last year. You know, we kind of waited. But now, since the 5th grade's down there and the teachers are in that room constantly and the bathrooms are being used regularly, we should probably replace the compressor there. Last year I did get 3 quotes, and Danny Vlachos was the cheapest one out of the group. I don't have the other 2 quotes. I had to look through my emails. I just didn't have a chance to find them.
We used him before, right?
Yeah, he did the building next door. He changed the compressor on in the building next door last year. He's the cheapest one by a few $100s, and he's reliable. You know, he does a good job.
That's what I, so what's your motion?
Let's see, the amount for that.
I have it.
So you're recording me?
I haven't put it this.
The amount for that was around $1,800. If we, oh, here it is. Okay.
19,
Actually, it's 1905
yes, 1905.
is the
Can
quote.
you call the conference number?
Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the
Just 2 minutes.
AC unit compressor.
Can I have a second? Any discussion, please? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay.
Well, excuse me, just 1 sec.
Next is
Who
plumbing.
made the motion?
I do.
Sorry. And who seconded it?
Karen, I did.
Okay.
I have Ray on the phone. Let me just put you on speakerphone, okay? Are you okay with that?
She can go.
All right.
She can go through.
I don't know. For right now,
Sorry,
she's
thank you for doing this with me.
Okay, Zoe, welcome. We are, Mr. Tatsis, you have one more item
Yeah.
to go? Okay, please, do so.
Go ahead.
From plumbing services, yes.
Okay. As Ms. Brighton mentioned, one of the water fountains down in the Cashel building has stopped making cold water. Had ER Plumbing come take a look at it. They determined that the compressor went bad and it needs to be replaced. The guy said to replace the compressor or just buy a whole new unit is the same, pretty much the same price. The quote he gave us was for $1,880. I didn't have time to get any other quotes yet. If you would like, I can get 2 more quotes and then send them to the board and have you determine which one to use. I'm sure this company is gonna be the cheapest because the last 2 times I had them competing with others to do stuff, they ended up being the cheapest one out of the other 3 companies. But that's up to you if you wanted to approve this now or wait until I get the other quotes
Yeah.
and approve it then.
I would
I
suggest,
said let's make a motion to approve up
Up,
to 1880 and you
yes.
get 2 more, and then if it turns out to be cheaper, then you decide that.
Okay.
I'll just make a motion, can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all right, any other discussion? Specify what's the motion?
Motion is to approve up to $1,880 for a water fountain replacement, subject to Mr.
more.
Tatsi's getting 2 more
Quotes.
Okay.
quotes.
I also have one more thing I want to mention.
Go ahead.
Um,
Oh, we got to vote on this.
oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you, we're doing okay. Yes, Mr. Letchers.
Okay, Lena wanted me to mention, the lawn service that we have has increased their price that they charge us from $12.90 to $13.25 per month. And that increase is allowed in the contract that we have for them. It's a 3% increase, and if they want to, they can raise the price 3% per year. And they haven't raised it before, but this year they decided to raise it, and that's the price difference. She told me to mention it because it's in the budget, and it's gonna change the,
How
I guess,
much
a line
longer do we
item
have on that contract?
till July.
All right.
Or if they, July, no,
No,
I think it's already renewed, you know? It's just this, she mentioned this after we had already,
So we don't have
Gone
any
into it.
alternative but to accept that?
yeah.
Okay.
And see, the last year I did try to find another company to cut the grass here, and every other company was twice as much as this guy's price.
Okay.
So, I mean, we've already researched this last year.
So what's the
You know,
3%?
The 3% is the difference of, let's see, $35.
Per month?
It increased $35
Per
per
month?
month.
Yeah. Can I have a motion?
There's no need for a motion.
See, I'm just mentioning this because I think it's a line item
If it's,
in the budget.
if it's.
Can
I
I
understand.
ask that we review the contract to see how many times they come per week or per month? And
Exactly.
a couple of things that, and you and I have already talked about it, but I want to make sure the board is aware that we are requesting that the calendar be looked at, so before events, when we invite, 500 parents here, that the grass is cut at least 2 days prior to, and that they are coming. And is there a way during rainy months that they can come more frequently? But I really want to revisit the contract because I would say that our grass, the curb appeal is not the best.
Well, I mean, we can look at the calendar and try to figure out the best. I mean, that guy will work with us because he likes having this contract. Because they can come and they can cut part of it, and then they can come the next day, cut the rest. So
Yeah, but
it
see,
benefits us
But
both.
we get what we pay for then.
Right, right.
But that's part of the reason he does it for this price. I'm sure, it's, like I said, when I researched this, tried to find somebody else, everybody was twice as much, or more than this guy. So I'm sure he'll work with us because he wants to cut the grass here. If we tell him, look, you need to come this certain date or a couple days before,
Okay.
I'm sure it's gonna work out. He just finagles the dates.
Note this and make sure.
Yeah. And we've talked about it, and we're gonna sit down and figure out, the calendar.
All
and-
right, thank you.
You know.
Thank you, Mr. Thatcher. I appreciate it.
Now, the other thing that you were going to mention was about the utility
The
pipe
pipe.
and everything
That's
like
in
that.
there.
Oh,
That's in the report?
That's
yeah, I
in-
didn't know if I need, do I need
We said-
to talk about that, or?
We had the meeting
You
with
don't
the-
need to. It's in the report unless you have something
Okay.
else.
Well, I think at the end, they decided they're gonna pay the bills
Okay.
that I gave them. I gave them the invoices for everything we spent.
But we got an email a couple of days ago that they had sent, Myers and Chapman had sent the plans to the city, and the city realized that they made the mistake. So now the city's gonna reimburse us instead of Myers and Chapman.
Oh, well,
Okay, so, but my chapters, we came here, we met with Mr. Tatchis, we talked about it, they were very,
He cooperated after
They
we
do the
called the
best,
city
okay?
and
All right, that's
found out
it.
everything.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tatchis. Curriculum, Dr.
Oh,
Filipakos,
I'm sorry.
what else?
One more thing I was gonna ask.
Is it
This
in
came
the-
up
is
today.
it- Is it in here?
If it's not.
It's not
It's not in your
If
report.
it's not in here, no.
Okay, don't worry about it then.
And I can see the agenda that you have on Zoom, but I cannot hear anyone. And I don't know if you can hear me on Zoom, but I am on Zoom. I'm in, but I have no sound. Okay,
Thank
so curriculum committee, there is a request in the curriculum to incorporate North Carolina check-in. This was even though there is no replacement for math testing, there is no kick now for math testing.
Okay, do you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, okay, great. So there is no request to eliminate map testing. We'll continue with map testing as it was for many reasons. One of them is consistency, the ability to examine growth across time, and it's a nice way to progress monitor data as well as performance and growth. But in the curriculum, we are requesting that the board approves for the incorporation of the North Carolina check-ins that will replace the teachers' benchmarks. And this we're taking instructional time, so instead of doing the teacher benchmarks, the teachers will do instead the North Carolina check-ins. So we want to request, that's the item, for the incorporation of the North Carolina check-ins for reading, as well as the North Carolina check-ins for mathematics and for science. And we have them by grades. So as it's indicated in the report, it is for grades 3 to 8 mathematics, 4 to 8 in reading, and 5 to 8 in science.
Zoe, so these are additional tests?
These are tests that will replace the teachers' benchmark tests. They are replacing something that teachers already do. And the teachers requested them because they think that this will better help them align with end of year testing. The only reason we do this at this point is because we want to see how well the curriculum map aligns to the standards that they are tested at the end of the year. But the goal is not next year to continue with North Carolina check-ins, because our goal is not for the students to be performing well on a test. The goal is for the students to perform well as learners. And if they are taught well, they grow.
So we're just gonna do it this year, but we're not gonna do it next year,
That's exactly what the expectation is. So the request from the administration was to do them this year. And the way that we in the curriculum committee discussed it was that we do this with the purpose to see how well this matches and aligns, how well our curriculum aligns to the expectations from the state and from the standards.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Zoe
Zoe made the
Okay.
motion.
Yes, so the motion is to approve the incorporation of the North Carolina check-ins for grades 3-8 mathematics, 4 to 8 reading, and 5 to 8 in science, to replace teachers' benchmarks. Twice. They will be performed twice in the year.
At what cost then?
Free.
Oh,
There is no cost,
Okay.
they're free, they are part of the North Carolina support. And they will be applied in fall and spring, and our goal is to see how the data from the fall align with the data from MAP. So that we will be looking at with the administration in December.
The teachers were hoping for their pacing, to really look at their pacing to see that they're aligning with what the state expectations are. Additionally, it's a test that is not given in necessarily one season. It can be given over time. the goal of check-ins for the state was to potentially one day eliminate a long 3-hour EOG exam, that they could give check-ins a couple to 2 to 3 times a year to measure the proficiency of a student over time as opposed to one sitting. So.
Right, but because of there are issues with the measurement. So again, the concern that we had is we don't want to be teaching to the test. And that's why we incorporated math, because it's normalized in the nation. And as we said, it's very powerful for a parent to be able to see that my child is performing on the 70th percentile. 30% is better than my child. Let me see where I can work. What is my child's rate? So that way they can better support children and work with the teachers to do that. So we are not eliminating MAP, we're keeping MAP, but we're adding that only the check-ins for twice a year, not for 3 times a year, because then it's the 3rd time will be very close to the AOGs. We don't want to exhaust our children.
And waste instructional time.
And in the past, the teachers had created their own mock EOGs based on released items, and this would replace that. So it is something that already existed. This would actually be something that's more aligned, and the data that they take it on the computer, which is different. The released items the teachers would print, and it would be on paper. And this would look and feel just like it would at the end of the year. And this is another reason why the teachers have requested
Thank you. Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
The second item that I wanted to share,
Go ahead.
we have, pardon?
Go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to also say that we did meet growth for the 18-19 academic year. And I just saw a typo in the report that I missed. And there is nothing for the board to approve, but we just share this information. We do see growth, but we also saw areas of growth. And again, that's why progress monitoring and map data is very important, because the data that we had from the middle of the year for specific instructional concerns were also reflected in the AOGs. That's why we'll be closely looking at the data for improvement plans to be in place early on, and for intensive support in classrooms to be early on, so that we will not have low performance at the very end of the year. We also want to share that we will begin for grades 2nd to 5th the genre-based writing and reading instruction that the board had approved in May. I also would like to share that coaching will take place, which means that teachers will complete videos of their instruction. I will watch them on my end, and I will provide feedback to the teachers. This feedback is individual, it's not shared with the administration, unless the teachers want to give it to their administration, but that's coaching feedback. Again, there is nothing for the board to approve. And finally, we have the opportunity to participate in a pilot program. This is a language base. It's in collaboration with the Simon Fraser University, and this is included with the Nyakos Foundation. It seems like a promising opportunity, but because this is a research project, and because we as an academy follow the same process for any research, we are waiting for the principal investigators' information about the IRB, about consent forms, anonymity, confidentiality, and once we have this information and we review it, we will bring it to the board for approval or not.
Okay, so it's not for approval now.
Nothing, there's
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
We approve the
Foundation update, there's nothing there, you already discussed. Okay, so number 10.
Number 10, posting of draft minutes.
All right, so as part of some investigation into how the board can fully comply with the open meetings law, a couple of board members discussed some issues with a couple of parents, and some suggestion was made to post the minutes of the draft minutes of the board before they're approved. So this is something that needs to be approved by the board, so it's up for discussion, basically. And if I may, can I?
Make a motion.
So, I'd like to say something first. So, I don't think it's a good idea, and I've kind of studied a little bit practices of different boards and also guidance from organizations that support boards. Basically, the minutes are supposed to be a reflection of what transpires at the meeting, but it's also a legal document. And so, to that extent, if I take the minutes tonight, then I make mistakes, and I go and post the draft minutes tomorrow, that will give out a document that the board hasn't approved, and it could give out the wrong information. And I don't know, even if we say draft, I don't know, maybe we're covered legally, I'm not sure, but I personally, I would rather, it's not a whole lot of time, especially if we try to do it now that we've gotten our act together a little bit better and, you know, show all the reports, all the consent items, we'll post them on the website, all of the minutes with the closed session discussions and so on. I don't think it's a very lengthy time to wait until the next board meeting to approve the minutes. I have shared with all of you the open meetings law, that's Article 33C, and there's nowhere in there that says that draft minutes have to be posted online. There's a requirement that boards have to publish their minutes, but it's up to us how to do that. So my feeling is that we shouldn't be posting draft minutes that are one person's impression of the meeting, and we should just wait until we have agreement from everybody, because mistakes are made all the time.
I would totally agree. I mean, I think after we approve minutes in a meeting, then they get posted because that's our official document.
Would you make a motion, please?
I don't know if we need one. It's the practice that we're following right now. We'll continue to post. I mean, if you want me, we'll continue to post the.
Do we need to make, to approve this? Because that's the common practice that we have now. So, I mean, make a motion for what? We already do this. We already revise, I mean, we don't approve the draft minutes. So, it's a general thing that we do, and we are making a motion not to. I'm trying to understand why we make a motion.
I think if someone wanted us to, if one of us wants us to post the draft minutes, then someone should make a motion to start posting draft minutes. I'm not gonna make that motion. It doesn't sound like anyone's gonna make that motion, so.
Right.
So we'll say that again.
So we will continue doing the way we've been doing. Next time.
Do you want to make the motion to approve the
I cannot
minutes?
make motions as president. but
Okay, well, there's no motion on the
I
table.
can't make a motion.
She said she doesn't want to
Or
make a
maybe she
motion.
wants to check something.
So you don't have a motion on the table. That means you cannot, that's not
She
something
would
that
make
the board.
maybe she may make a motion.
She just agreed with what I said.
Protect us as well.
She just
No,
agreed
but
with
we agree with we all, I think, agree, because you don't want to post something that's
Yes,
a
we can
draft.
say it in the law. We can make a motion after. You know, we get, I don't want to do this to have it open gate, but I'm not sure. You know, we get agreement. We said in our answer was,
I know, but
Draft
that's what it's here.
Yeah, but we were talking about those past minutes, which we
No,
did
no,
today
no,
and
no.
approved those. Yeah,
Draft
I'm
minutes.
looking.
So,
draft with the capital letters.
I see the word draft, but this
Capital
sentence is in reference to those previous minutes that we had to go back and correct.
okay, so it
Which
was,
we did.
If you say so,
it
yes.
wasn't.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so I will note this discussion. There's there's no motion, there's no decision, I will write 2 sentences to summarize this
Right,
discussion
and that we
the
will
board
continue
to post.
the practice that the board has been following.
Approve minutes as expeditiously as possible.
Right.
Okay. All right, very good. Yeah, well,
Okay.
Next item, number,
Number, board term renewals.
so, I have discussed with our principal, and she shared with me that
You know, I didn't get 40 yet, right?
the board, I confirmed with
School
her.
performance framework.
Yeah, I confirmed with her that we have 3 board members whose term is expiring, and they need to be renewed. We can take, how we're gonna do this. I think in the past, what we have done with renewals, we bring them up and the board basically votes on them.
Yeah.
So we can vote individually or we can vote all 3 together as the board wishes. So the 3 people are Mr. Perulas, Mr. Cushel, and I.
Okay.
Okay.
So you have all 3 of us, I understand, were willing to continue serving, so there's gotta be a motion from somebody. So I'll make a motion that we renew Mr. Perula's term for another 3 years.
And I'll second it. I mean,
Discussion.
why don't we approve all 3 of you? You're the founders.
It's all right, it's better one by one.
Okay,
Okay. Can we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion?
Can I just say, I'm not voting against anybody, I'm just, let me just put that up. But I do feel like maybe Zoe or Rhonda or myself, because the 3 of you all are up for renewal, I don't think you all should be making motions for one another. It just
Okay, yeah,
seems-
well, like, then,
It just seems a
you
little.
guys can make the motion.
Very good point.
Make the who's gonna
Very
make
good point.
You make-
Okay,
Yeah,
then
you
I'll
make the
make the
motion.
I
motion.
think that might look better, but it's not a requirement, so.
Yeah,
No,
okay,
I mean,
okay.
it's not,
It looks
it's
better,
just-
right, go ahead, make a motion,
Doesn't
please.
feel good.
That's a good, so Karen, why don't you make the motion and I'll second it, or
Can
around
I
that,
have-
whatever.
No, Rhoda can second, can you?
Yeah, so it has someone made a motion?
Well, there was a motion and a second, and I was in the unreadiness part, because it just felt
Okay,
funky.
Well, I made the motion, so then I'll withdraw it and let
Okay.
let Zoe make the
Got
motion,
it.
so we just need a second.
Yes, so I'll make the motion to renew Mr. Perles for the next 3 years.
you should.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for the honor.
Go ahead, Zoe, next one.
Next one.
I'll make the motion to approve Mr. Purcell for the next 3 years.
Second.
Renew Mr. Purcell for the next 3 years.
All in favor say aye. Opposed?
How are you voting, sir?
The 3rd one.
And I make a motion to renew Dr. Stilano for the next 3 years.
Second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
So
Thanks, excellent point.
just,
Thank you for putting out so
just-
much.
FYI, the other terms, we have Zoe, she was renewed in January, her term expires January 2022. Karen, joined the board October 2018, so her term finishes in 2021. And Rhonda joined the board in April 2019, so her term finishes April 2022.
Okay, well, thank you.
Election of board office.
Election of board office.
Approve that.
Okay,
You'll read it, update that.
okay, every
I'll update and give it to you.
every 3 years we have a new elections of board officers. That means president, vice presidents, and secretary and treasurer. So, any motion or any discussion?
So, I'll make a motion to renew Mr. Perulas as the president, and I'd like to say something that sometimes it's a thankless job, but it's a day by day, it's almost like he's working here sometimes. So I don't know any of us that has that much time to put volunteer time, I should say, for, 20 years now, since before we started the school. So if you're willing to serve, that's my motion.
Second.
Discussion?
No, thank you, Mr. Perulis, for doing this, because there is no way that any of us would do that. I know I wouldn't be able to do that.
No, I'm honored that we can have another candidate.
So you have a motion on the table right now, you have a second, so. just
All
go
those in
ahead.
favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I appreciate what you have done. I'm honored, and really, I will not let you down. I won't disappoint you for the next 2 years.
I'm more efficient than
Thank you
this
very
next
much.
item.
Motion for, okay, the next vice president. We have 2 vice presidents. Vice presidents, I cannot make a motion, but we have 2 vice presidents here before, John Purcell and Mr. Dr. Steveno. I cannot make a motion. I would like to have them on again.
Can we review them, or do we vote for that? How does-
Yeah, both, it's officers. Make a motion.
Okay. I'll make the motion then to vote Dr. Steveno and Mr. Purcell as vice presidents of the board.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Okay, here we are now. Congratulations. Okay, we have, the 2 vice presidents were serving also as secretary, one of them as secretary and the other one as treasurer. I would like to ask the 2 ladies here, the 3 ladies here, to take over one of these duties and become an executive committee member as well, as treasurer or secretary. I can start with the order, with the previous, not order, with Ms. Karen.
More veteran
Ms. Karen,
status, let's say.
would you like to take over one of the treasurer or secretary, please?
The police was all the money.
You're
But we have to work
You're
out. I mean,
volunteering.
we have to work out.
Voluntold.
Huh?
If I had to pick one, I would prefer.
Secretary, okay. Do you, okay, can I have a motion, please, to elect Miss Karen Gibson as the secretary for the next, as a secretary for the remaining term of Mr. Miller or Mr. Dodd?
No.
No, it's nothing for the next, for the
Just
expire of her.
Yeah, well, because her term will expire before, so it will be until the end of her term.
So we can
I'm just fulfilling the rest
have
of
another
Tim's term.
one. We have another one.
No, your term.
So I'll make the motion to
I already made the motion.
welcome Ms. Gibson to the position of the secretary of the board until the completion of her term.
It's
And
another,
I'll
it's
second. I'll second.
It's another good theory, okay? Okay.
Don't say that till
Let's discuss-
after.
No, wait until you vote and after.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Because we have agreement.
Karen, I can share with you the,
Welcome, Karen.
We can, you can help him.
Thank you.
and I can help you with whatever you need.
As a treasurer, Rhonda.
What does the job consist of? I'm more than willing to serve. I'm just not a numbers person. That's why I went to law school. So, what does being a treasurer consist of?
Being a numbers person.
Right.
Except if John would like to give
Mr.
that.
Costello is doing a wonderful job.
John,
Yeah, if it requires me coming up with a budget, that's not a good idea. I'm just gonna be very candid. I will help in other ways. I don't think you all want me doing that.
oh,
I'm a word person, not
I
a numbers
understand.
person.
I understand, okay.
So if I can take
Right.
something else off your plate, maybe to free
The
that.
grievance thing has been, and the policies,
What, yeah, I think
Yeah.
we talked about. That's probably more of my world anyway.
okay.
On the policy committee, that would be great.
She could be assistant secretary.
But we also need to get,
I should like
Go ahead.
Rhonda
Go
could be
ahead.
assistant secretary too.
We have the
Yeah.
right, we can have the right to have assistant secretary as a board member. We can have a right to have assistant to the treasurer. We have the right as far as we approve it by the board. So if you would like to be helped by Rhonda, it will be.
I'm not gonna turn down any.
And help.
Now.
All right.
And
Okay.
again, I'm willing to help. If you're gonna stay on as treasurer, I'm happy to take something off your plate.
okay,
I just don't wanna step into a role that I know is not my calling.
yeah, that's fine.
Uh,
We're finally getting around a little bit,
treasurer,
little handle on the
Assistant
budget.
secretary.
assistant secretary, okay, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve Rhonda to be assistant secretary.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, what a family we are. What a family.
Are we still looking for additional board members?
Yeah, we can get to that, but we're looking for
So,
specific.
I'll make a motion to approve John to remain as treasurer for another 3 years.
No, let's do it on a year by
You're
year.
right.
Until the
I
numbers
think
person
John right
signs.
now is indispensable part to be with the budget right now. If I would like to ask him to remain really.
1 year. Okay, get a second.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
I'll second it, because I give him a hard time, because I constantly ask for money, so I
All in favor say aye.
Uh,
We'll help him. We help him as much as we can.
Next, the report committees and that's great.
Next one is board committees, the election of board officers, board committees and task forces.
Someone
Yes,
has their
okay.
hands up.
I'm sorry? Yes.
I just wanted to, because I didn't know, if you don't mind clarifying, when you're elected to the executive board, it is always by your term, or is it all annually? Do you do this every year, or is it only when you're?
Every 3 years. The term is 3-year term.
Okay, and then so my only feedback as I'm looking at the numbers here, as you were starting to say, are you looking for more people? All of your terms are set to expire in the same year, so I would say it might be a good idea to start looking for more members so that you have a staggered term, so that all of you aren't up for renewal in 3 years at the same time.
Yeah, we will do this as our needs growing here, and we're looking for specific board members to join us, especially from academicians. Okay, thank you for your note. The next thing is board meeting. As you know, the board of directors, as you all know, the board of directors have their own committees, the board of directors committees, which is the backbone of governing our school here. And it's a law, it's by law to have these committees. We had several committees during the last years. Okay, we have to really to put on the website to post these committees and post the chairs or the co-chairs, and also post the dates they meet, and also meet in advance, 48 hours in advance and things like that. Some of these committees weren't posted in the past. Nothing was done intentionally. We are here for the school, we're here for our children. So I think we have to go over these committees a little bit and all together here as a board and find out who are the people, the best, or not the best people, who are the appropriate people to chair or co-chair each of these board of directors committees. And we have a list of committees here, a list of committees, it's on the board, okay, list of committees, and it's the executive committee. The executive committee meeting is for all officers, for the officers, okay? The 4 officers, the 5, whatever. Personal, it's to be announced 48 hours in advance notice. As you understand, according to the board can really delegate a lot of decisions to the executive committee. We haven't done it so far, okay? So in that executive committee, let's go a little further. The personnel.
Wait. Let me,
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
this concerns me now because with the number of people we have on this board, if we have an executive committee meeting, it's technically a board meeting because
There is a solution, yeah.
Uh-huh.
There is a solution. No more. If this, no more should participate. Like what I want to say here is this: that we cannot participate in the executive committee members that exceed, that reaches the quorum of the board of directors meeting.
So you
We
said
are
that
six.
you have
We are
more
six.
people.
We are six right now, board of directors, right? Now, in the executive
And there are
committee.
5 on the executive.
When we have an executive committee, 3 of us should participate. The others stay outside.
But the only reason we have executive committees is to set the agenda. That's what we've done in the past. The executive committee has met via conference call to set the agenda for the board meeting.
What about the nomination?
Just wait a minute, wait. If that duty, to me, that duty should be the president and the secretary get together and set the agenda,
Okay.
okay?
Yes.
Then,
And the assistant secretary.
and the assistant secretary.
The assistant doesn't have a vote.
You know, you live, you get to.
The assistant doesn't.
Voluntold to do something.
So if that's the case, then what's the purpose of the executive committee?
The executive, the personnel committee also.
No, the executive committee, not the personnel committee, the executive committee.
But the nominating committee is an
The
executive committee.
executive committee, not the nominating committee and not the personnel committee.
Yeah, but I think what he's trying to say right now, all of these are one and the same, because it's.
Yeah,
it's
that's
the
what I'm
people
saying.
that are
That's
here
exactly-
right now,
yeah.
so I
Um,
kind of know what you're saying.
Personal committee.
Well, I can see John's point.
Yeah.
He's making a very valid point.
Traditionally, we have only done what you said. And
Right.
I agree with you.
But see,
We don't need
our
to.
feet are being held to the fire now, and we have to be very prudent about the use of the word committee.
Yes. So I agree with you that the president should meet with the secretary to do the agenda, and that's enough. We don't need to be everybody there. And as far as the personnel, you know, I think we'd have to take each matter one at a time. I mean, if there's so far when we have had personnel, we didn't really meet separately as a committee. We had a couple people participate in interviews, and the rest of the personnel issues came in front of the whole board in closed session.
Right.
So that wasn't there.
Which, again, if you call it a personnel committee and you have to schedule a meeting that is open to the public, personnel issues are not public issues.
Yeah, that's why it says an A there, because that's a closed, that's a closed
Personnel is always
meeting.
closed.
And then
So why have a personnel committee?
Why have a nominating committee? We shouldn't have. That's what I'm saying. We put them all in the executive.
I didn't have them there. Larry wanted me to put it.
Right. I'm saying, we need to call these committees down to ones that actually function. And just to throw out the word committee is wrong.
Because it triggers some duties.
Exactly.
It's
And we're getting criticized for
Posted
that
reports.
unjustly, because like we're sitting here, we say we have a facilities and grounds committee. It's not a committee. It's me and Jimmy getting together and talking about what are the needs of this school.
It's a committee, Yanni, 1 minute. This is a committee again, because you have the administration, we have to deal with the facilities. You have, it's a committee. You make a meeting and make a decision.
But I
It's
think
nothing
not a
different.
board committee is maybe what you're getting at. Like, it's more of a school committee where we ask an opinion of a board
Well,
member
it
as
doesn't-
opposed to having an open meeting that needs
Right,
to
it's
involve
never a
everybody
meeting
else.
like that. It's me and him see each other and discuss a few things,
That-
and that's our
that-
meeting.
That's
But-
what you think, that's what you think is, Mr. Tatsis, but the thing is that here, the law requires facilities and, what's her name, grounds committee is a committee. It's made up from 1 or 2 board members always. There is no board of.
Larry,
wanna see-
there
I
is-
wanna
there
see
is
that
no-
law.
There is no law
I-
that requires us to have any specific
Yeah.
committees.
I want
There
to
is
see
no
the law
such
that
I'm
says
trying
you
to
have to
find
have.
my envelope we took in 2005 when we were
Larry,
trained.
those
at
were
Raleigh.
recommendations. They recommend that we would have these kinds of committees.
I have no objection to eliminate as many committees.
So-
You have 5 committees only.
So like personnel committee, I mean, we
It's
can
in the
have a
executive
personnel committee. No, we can have a personnel committee, but the point is that normally the way that we've done things, we bring in closed session in front of the whole board, right? Instead of having a.
Don't listen to them. I agree.
Right.
And then what happens is, we may have a couple of board members that sit with the leadership team when they're interviewing for different positions.
Right. And
Right, we
So,
do
so the executive committee, a lot of boards have an executive committee, and the way they work, sometimes, which you have not done, is the board can delegate some matters to the executive committee.
That's right.
And that's the purpose for it. We have never done that before.
That's right, yeah, we shouldn't talk about it.
So, but if we have an executive committee and we say board officers and it's all board officers, then we run into that problem that John said.
Yeah, but when you meet, when you meet as an executive committee, you shouldn't have, you shouldn't have less than a half of the board members participate.
That's not an executive committee.
How many? How many people? Just tell how many people there.
Maybe not the president, the treasurer, the secretary. And or the vice president. Or
So
the
there's
vice
5
president.
right
No,
now.
no, 1 minute. There are 5. The 3 of them.
What? Which?
The 3 of them, they can come and meet.
Which
The
three?
3. Anyone of the 3.
What if I want to come? I mean, if I'm on the committee, you can't force me not to come.
It's okay. I understand what you're saying, but that's it. Tomorrow we may have 7 men, so you won't have a
So
problem.
can we say that, to the extent that our board grows to more than 6 people or to 10 people, that's when we will form an executive committee? I mean, 'cause I think that's the issue, we've got such a small board,
Sure.
we are the executive committee.
Right, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
I
Okay.
think the
You take it
sentiment
out.
is right now, we take out
Take
the
it out, okay,
executive,
very
take
good.
out
That's it.
personnel, take out
Nominating.
nominating.
But the thing
Nominating
is,
can be a task force, because that's,
And the personnel, the same with people participating
Right.
in interviews.
the thing is, with the executive committee, it's in our bylaws. Executive committee, it's in our bylaws, and we have to have it. And in the bylaws, the bylaw says that the board of directors can delegate decision-making to the executive committee, except for hiring or firing or
Yeah, okay, we don't have to have
Okay.
one, Larry.
We
Let's
don't
go
have
on.
to.
Curriculum and instruction, let's just take the ones that
And
we.
we haven't done because we were always. we haven't done.
Curriculum and instruction. So, we have right now Zoe and myself, and of course, principal, vice principals are also part of that. I think that works well right now, we just leave it as is. Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay. So athletics, right now, we have John and the principal, and we have Miles.
Right.
That
and that's
works
every 2 months.
every 2 months.
Yeah.
Every 2 months.
Third
I
month,
love my
every 2
correction. Every 2 months.
You're gonna send this to.
Yes, yes, to everybody.
And it started in August? I
Which
think you
one?
guys just had one in August, so
This?
it wouldn't meet again until
No.
October. is
No,
that
we're
correct?
we had one, yes, you're right, we had one in August, but we're having one next week,
anyway.
And then we're going 2 months after that.
Okay, so August, September, and 2 months from there.
Right, yeah.
All right, very good. So marketing and communication, right now is Mr. Rulas, the administration, and John is Susie. Is that,
And that's gonna be, we're trying to meet more monthly. But actually,
No,
it says
monthly.
the first
First
Thursday. I
Thursday.
thought we were trying to, the suggestion that we gave was
2 months.
biannually.
Biannual.
Bi-monthly.
Bi-monthly.
Mm, That's a
Bi-monthly.
lot. I mean, she has.
biannual is every other year.
I'm sorry, twice a year, because we created the position of Janice Susi with the title of marketing and communications,
Okay,
because that, we don't need to meet monthly now that she is in
so
that position.
it's basically, it's gonna be to be determined.
Janice Susi
We had suggested January and
Janice Susi
May.
cannot make major decisions.
Right.
She doesn't,
Okay.
the administration meets with her every week.
It's to be determined, okay, so,
Determined, okay.
because we don't have specific dates.
Which
That's
one?
it.
Which one, the marketing?
The marketing,
To be
yeah.
determined?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she's
We'll find out.
twice a year, right? Facilities and grounds right now is, I don't know why
You wanna take it over?
Georgia is there. No, I think we
She
should.
needs to be eliminated, and the suggestion was, the job description used to be different where she
All
oversaw.
right, so we have John and Jimmy and Sam.
We just need to get together and figure out when we meet.
Mm. And our suggestion was the same thing, that, twice a year, because the biggest thing is in May, that we meet to determine what's gonna be done for the summer, for the upcoming school year, and then again in January, mid-year, to see how things are going.
Okay, so to be determined.
I would like to add something here though. According to our policy and procedures, the chairs, the chair or the co-chairs of every of these board of directors committees, okay, should come up with, I send them to all, but I can send them again, should come up with the purpose of the committee, specific committee, of the composition of the committee, and also and the dates they want to meet. But there is another important item here that you as the chair or the co-chair, you can choose, you can elect members from the school.
You can add
or
other
outside.
people.
Eh?
They can
Add
add
some
other people.
people, some other people,
All right.
bring them to the board as well, so the board knows and have it down, written down, that these are the committee made up of 5 or 6 or 7 people.
All right, very good. Policies and procedures, the recommendation, and Rhonda agreed to serve on that together with you.
Very good, it's,
John, I'm taking one off
Thank
your
you.
plate.
thank you.
I was trying to balance some names a little bit. Grievance and discipline, it was Karen and Larry, and Rhonda agreed to join on that. She has expertise
Okay, very
with that.
good. You want to take me out of there, to just be two coaches?
I think it's,
As a president, I'm ex officio in all committee meetings, so I can join you anytime you want me.
good to be there.
I'll be there. I'll be there anytime.
All right, task forces.
Always, I'll be there.
Task
I'll be there,
forces,
but
annual
competition.
fund, community partnerships and
I'm
events.
all over.
Yeah, so those are the people that are part of the task force right now. Gibson, Perulas, Brighton, Bucky, Susie, and the PFI president. Is that still correct? And do we keep
Can I take me out?
that as is?
So Rebecca and I talked about that today, actually, is that something that's required by the board, that the PFI president is a
No.
person who, so
No.
she said that because we meet monthly and she's involved in everything, that she doesn't need to
Okay,
be
so we take that
Okay.
out.
a required member.
I think it would be a good idea, because it would be a good idea to have someone from the PFI and maybe even someone from the foundation in order to have a coordinated plan for fundraising. But we can take that out and you guys figure
Yeah,
out
that's right.
to add someone.
That
as
was what I
you
thought.
like.
Because in the fundraising policy, there's wording in it that the PFI
You can also
collaborates
take out the
with, so-
Yeah,
buckets.
yeah,
You
that's
can also
fine.
take buckets out there, it's Susan will be made there.
Okay, we'll
So
take
that
Bucky's
you
out as
should
well.
Brighton and
Okay,
Susan.
before and after school program, Perulas, Gibson, Newberry, and the after school program director.
Yeah, I feel like
take care now from that. Okay. 7th grade trip to Greece, Peroulas and Stamoulis.
Patris residence, what it says here?
What?
Oh, no, okay, I'm sorry.
Campus master plan, Peroulas, Brighton, Cushel, and Mike Harras.
Yes, this will be a big committee.
Yeah, you can add more later if you want to. And high school development is Peroulas, Filipakos, and Stiliano. These are task forces, so they're all ad hoc as needed, but they still need to follow the open meetings law. So when there's a meeting, we need to announce it, and there has to be some record. That does not mean formal meetings. The minutes that we keep, the law says that we should have a record of the meetings. It doesn't say exactly how to formulate. It could be a report, like a couple paragraphs or whatever you want, right?
Okay.
So whatever is appropriate for the different.
And like the reports, like, for instance, the athletic, the Al Club,
Exactly.
that report
Yeah, that report
constitutes
is fine.
minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, the minutes could even be, we could decide as a board, according to the law, to, since the meeting is being videotaped, we could decide that the videotape is the minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
That's in the law.
That's right,
But,
that's right.
How come the fundraising is a task force and rather than a committee when that is such a huge part of our budget?
Which one? Say that again?
It says annual fund, community events, partnerships events, like how come to me that's fundraising, and it's such a huge part of this school. I'm really surprised that it's not a committee where, athletics is a committee and the grounds and the facilities are a committee, but
What is this, that fundraising here?
fundraising is just
Annual
not
fund,
up
that's
there.
its name.
What is the
Just
annual fund? It's not
fundraising.
here?
That's task
It's
force.
under a task force.
No,
and-
this is a regular committee, this is a standing committee.
I mean, that's
Pauline,
just a
sorry,
question.
This is, I didn't see that.
Maybe
This is a
there's a
standing
different-
committee, one of the most important committees of our school. It should be a standing committee.
So that means you guys need to have some regular meetings.
Yes, we have already.
It's on there. I
This is-
mean, we
this is-
submitted
I
a
have,
monthly
I have.
meeting and we keep minutes
Yeah,
and.
please put it on.
So what, because I have TBD there.
It's Monday
No,
Monday
we-
mornings, right?
Yeah, we have
Monday mornings, I think it's 9 AM.
9 AM, yeah, I remember
Eight.
that.
Every
Yeah.
Monday morning?
No, it's
No.
once a month, it's monthly.
Which Monday, because we have the marketing communication committee as well.
Hold on.
Which one?
This
We
is the
met
third Monday.
2 or 3 times.
It's been the fourth Monday,
Okay.
and just a suggestion, you always refer to it as fundraising committee, you might as well be consistent.
It's at 8:30 too,
8:30?
8:30.
What
Right.
month, which
The
Monday?
fourth Monday
The
of
fourth
the
month,
month.
put down the fourth Monday
At 8:30 AM.
at 8:30 AM, because I remember that.
So you're gonna call it fundraising committee?
Yes, annual fund, or my
You
fundraising.
just decide.
Yeah, fundraising.
I mean, you call it a
But
hundred
you
different
put the
things.
annual fund there, it's very important.
Fundraising committee.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
call it fundraising, and the annual fund is a part of fundraising, but it's.
Yeah, I understand. Fundraising, yeah.
Okay, very good.
We arranged
I'll
that.
make
circulate
that
the
today.
draft and you can correct me, okay?
I think Board of Committees task forces, okay, all right, all business. Well, we finished with this, right? Is that right?
Yeah. We
We
just
have
15
no
minutes.
no
left.
approval, okay? We approve all, can I have a motion to approve this? I think it's appointment. It's appointment, you all accept? You're,
Yeah, go on there.
okay, all right. Send this to us. 14, all business. Socrates Annual Administrative Leadership Retreat, okay, retreat. To make it, it's my name here, yeah, to make it, we have sent out a doodle, the administration, and we received, and what we have, I have a doodle here. We wanted all of you to be on the retreat, not only for having a forum, but also to be there and talk about our goals, strategic planning and things like that. It will be a Saturday, as we said, okay? And most of you already have replied, except Miss Gibson. Okay, do I have, what, I have it here. Do you have a doodle with you? Oh, I have
October
it.
19th was
I have it
the
somewhere.
majority,
I'm
not
sorry?
all.
Uh,
October, I'm sorry.
We have 19, October 19 is the best Saturday, but is not, you know, I mean, for everybody. Karen didn't, fine with Karen as well. And we're missing wheat on that day. And
Oh, yeah.
1 minute, let me see now, what we have.
October 19th, what time?
So it's 9 in the morning. What time you have it? It's 9 o'clock or 8:30, or in the morning. It's there. It's written. Yeah. Here.
9 to what?
1 minute.
I think I said 9 to 3.
9 to 3. Yeah.
9 to
We're gonna
10.
have breakfast. Then we're gonna have lunch.
Karen's like 9 to
Here.
12?
Okay.
More like we eat and then we live.
Yeah.
Nine one.
Okay. I don't have. It looks like I
You're bringing
don't
a
have
draft and
the
everything.
doodle. Okay. Let me see how many of that doodle. I do have it. Okay.
You don't.
Look again.
We said
This is
October
very
19th.
important. October 19, everybody. It's okay.
Yeah,
If-
okay.
With, I'm not sure, but,
And it's gonna be here,
we should have
here.
here,
We'll put
here,
you
here.
on speaker.
Yeah, so 9 to
Okay.
1 o'clock we said, when? Yeah.
9 to 1. Yeah, I know what you're doing.
Nine to one
This
is
is 9 to 3.
9 to 1 you said?
No.
Yeah,
9 to
she's
3.
shaking her head, 9 to 1.
Come on, we're gonna have good lunch, I'll make
You
sure.
didn't
Be
see her, but I saw her.
Okay. So all the board is going to
All
be
those
here.
things.
I'm not sure if the others, I think PFI has some days.
So
I hope it did.
so the open meeting would be that we make this public. You guys need
Yeah.
to talk about how this looks.
Yes, we got an agenda, we're gonna have an agenda, regular meeting, because at that day, we're gonna have a meeting with the board of directors as well, okay?
And we as the administrative team would be bringing a draft of the school improvement plan that was the
Yes,
template
and-
provided by the accreditation that the whole school is working on. So we'll be bringing that all the teachers have been working on up to that point.
Okay, we're gonna.
So we'll have that.
Strategic
Share.
plan and goals and things
Yes.
like that.
All right, very good. So
Very good.
it's 4 hours is enough
Uh,
with working lunch?
I think so.
Yeah.
We're gonna have good, to stay a little while more. Okay, what's the next one?
Grievance committee.
So it's done.
report.
It's done, okay,
Next
8:30, okay?
Next
We'll send out a
Next one.
grievance committee status report. Okay, and we won't mention names here,
Yeah,
okay?
just high level, there's, what is the status?
The status of the both grievance, do you wanna do? The status of both grievances? You wanna make just to make what is the status? I mean, let me, she
Let
knows,
Karen
but she
do
doesn't,
it.
she's very shy. She's very shy. Okay, with the one of the grievance committee we had for 1 month ago, Karen and Karen led the grievance committee, and we had responded for second time to the grievance people's parents, and we resolved everything is okay. So this is resolved. And the other one.
I think, Larry, if I may, given the conversation we had tonight, you may want to reach back out to them and clarify that item about the draft minutes. Just so to make sure that they also have the same understanding that we now will have.
I understand, but when I was talking about before, you didn't let me say it. You remember?
Yeah, I do think we should just reach out to, I agree, just to
Yeah.
let them know
Okay.
we are
Would you
following
please?
the law. That's fine.
Okay, thank you. Good method. Okay, the second grievance we have today, it's the first step. Okay, we met with Karen and two parents here and the administration and Mrs. Baker, and we talked with them. We got their points of view, we talked with the administration here, and we are ready, Karen and I, as a grievance committee, to send a letter to the parents according to our observations. information we got, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we have information and data that we're gonna make sure that we send to
And
them.
if they
just so
want, if
that
they don't
better
agree,
understand.
they can appeal to the board.
Yeah.
The whole board of directors. Okay.
Can I raise one point about grievances? I was looking at the grievance policy, and I'm not sure if the grievance policy covers grievances against the board. And the issue with having a grievance committee which is a subset of the board responding to the grievance, if the grievance is against the whole board and the suggestions are to initiate actions that the board needs to be approved, those need to come to the board first. Other kinds of grievances, like a parent has a grievance or a teacher, are not exactly like that. So I would like to suggest that the the policies committee have another look at the grievance policy to see how, if that policy allows grievances against the board, and if it doesn't, should it? And if it should, how are they different from other grievances? I'd like for us to refer this back to the policies committee to have another look at that policy.
What we really done with Karen, we had a.
Do you disagree with what?
No, I didn't disagree. I just
Okay.
I had something with why we went. You said it was.
No, that's good to justify.
There's no
I mean,
need
if
to
you
go into
agree,
the
then-
why, we'll just look at it and
Okay.
address it later.
Who's gonna do this?
The policies and
So
procedures.
you got the
committee.
message, right? Okay, thank you very much. I think we finished the line items we have on the open agenda, and I would like to have a motion to go to close, to adjourn, and goes to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Take 2 minutes.